Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. There is seeming evidence of a release date change for Black Ops 7, and ex-Call of Duty devs are calling out Call of Duty, and this all is coming while Battlefield and Ark and other games are breaking a whole load of Call of Duty records. So it's been a crazy week, let's get into the news. So this first piece is absolutely mind-blowing if true. I have very strong opinions on this though, which I'll share with you in a second. So Hope here says, it seems like there's evidence of a potential release date change for BO7, where it could move up a week. And if you're not familiar with that terminology, that means move forward. So instead of being November 14th, it might be November 7th, for example. He says, not sure I buy it yet, but it would be a pleasant surprise if it happens. Now this would be a first for Call of Duty. They've never done something like this before. And Juke here says, if you had to put a percentage chance on it right now, what do you think? Most likely it's campaign release or no. And Hope says, I'd put it at 20%. So it's not like this is a confirmed thing, but he has reported on this before, saying it may move up its release date. Now, at the time when he first reported on this, I said, there is absolutely, categorically, zero chance of this. Like, I am so strongly of the belief this will not happen. There's no reason at all that bringing the release date forward would benefit them in any way. Call of Duty just has too many moving parts. There's too much marketing calendar stuff booked for this to be something that they would consider doing, especially arbitrarily when they're not dodging another game's release date. Like, it's not like they're clashing with GTA 6, right? So why would they bother doing this? It's also not like this is going to give them some kind of leg up against Battlefield right now. So again, why would they bother moving a hundreds of $1 million marketing campaign around just on a whim? But I said this at the time, and even so, Hope is continuing to get little whispers and rumors in his ear that this might happen. So I wanted to report on it for you guys so that you had the full picture. I would be blown away. I don't know, I'd go bald. I'd go bald if they moved the release date a week forward. I think that would just be insane. But I guess we'll see. Next, there's actually multiple CoD devs taking shots at their ex-colleagues right now. The first is Glenn Schofield, and you might remember Glenn from his time at Sledgehammer Games. And I saw this Modern Warzone tweet and it said, I hate doing this, but since I left Sledgehammer, none of the games have been very good. And I was like, hold on, I have to see the full context of this, just to make sure that he isn't being taken out of context. And so I pulled up this article, okay? It's on VGC, which also has some of the most ads on a page I've ever seen in my life. This is a disgusting website. I don't know how people read this website when it's popping up all this stuff like this. But it's from Andy Robinson, and I really like Andy's reporting, so I'll make an exception just to see what he said here. And specifically, the pertinent quote is Andy asking, saying, as someone who understands the Call of Duty machine and what's required to make that successful, what challenges do you foresee now that that's under a big corporation in Microsoft? And Schofield responds with this fairly interesting answer, which we're going to read here. He says, well, I mean, first of all, if they go to not every year, they lose $1 billion every year. So that's why Call of Duty never did that. I worry about it immensely, I really do, because that's what's happening to Gears of War. Where's Halo? You know what I mean? And you look at EA and these big companies, and I'm like, where's the Strike games? Where's this game? And there are so many that just fall by the wayside. Unfortunately, once you're assimilated by one of these companies, I think you take on some of their traits. The other thing is, I don't know, but I'd imagine that the Call of Duty bonus system is out, and now you have theirs, and people are gonna go, that isn't that. Now, this is kind of an awkward, ambiguous part of his answer here. I think he's talking about like the bonuses that the Activision employees and stuff would receive, and the devs would receive as well, and they maybe have a Microsoft structure now where previously they had their own one. I think that's what he's alluding to, but it's this next paragraph that ties it together. So I'll give a selfish example. I hate doing this, but since I left Sledgehammer, none of the games have been very good. I mean, the last one, Modern Warfare 3 2023, was a 50, and he's talking about like a Metacritic score of 50. They still sell well though. You know, that happens. You move. I always wonder, why did you take that guy out? It's not going to work later. And very few times does that work. But the answer is they just aren't as good. They aren't the same. Treyarch's still really good, but you know, I got lucky. I feel like I was at the heyday of EA during my time there. I mean, it was a who's who working there. And then when I go to Activision, I made Modern Warfare 3 in 2011. As a matter of fact, Modern Warfare 3 was the last Call of Duty to win Action Game of the Year, and my other 2 games were nominated for it. But, you know, you don't see them. So it's all over the place. And I think that this has always been a problem that Glenn Schofield has had, is like, this man is riddled by ADHD or something, I don't know. He is jumping all over the place here, and there's not a lot of context being given as to what he's specifically referring to in certain sections, but overall, he basically feels like with the current Microsoft ownership structure and the current folks in charge of studios like Sledgehammer, they're just not putting out good games. And he seems to feel like there's a personnel problem that is part of that as well, by the looks of things. Now, this isn't the only dev speaking up here. As Nero has reported on from the timeline, basically, former IW dev, which is Brian Bright, surprise, surprise, claims that skill-based matchmaking was all Infinity Ward's idea, and they pushed Activision to initially get it implemented. So this comes off the back of Charlie Intel quote tweeting the blog that said, yes, we're going to get open matchmaking at launch for BO7. Courage then said, shout out to all the hardworking devs who've always tried their hardest to make CoD great. Activision execs who made decisions around skill-based matchmaking, not investing into anti-cheat and disbanding lobbies, are the ones to blame. Today, developers and players won. And then Brian Bright chimes in and he's like, lol, no, you're talking out your ass. The devs at Infinity Ward made this decision. He personally was pushing back at the time, but unfortunately he wasn't working on MP. I specifically remember arguing this during Infinite Warfare development. I likened the lobby to the corner bar. We hang, meet people, and forge some friendships, a la Modern Warfare 1 or Modern Warfare 2, or in my case, Quake 3 Arena. The push for faster matchmaking and better team balancing was their focus, though. So Brian was basically saying, you should be able to just go to these places and have a good time. And instead, there was all the focus on the skill-based matchmaking, team balancing side of things, which obviously has eroded the multiplayer experience so much over the years. Now, looking at the replies here, it's quite interesting because, for example, JGod says, I've seen a few posts about this. I thought this was widely known. And then there is this clip here that Sean has posted saying there's an interview from 2019 where they talk about how they added stronger skill-based matchmaking, and this is the clip, and I think this is worth taking a little look at here. I'm not sure who the original creator is of this clip, but I'm guessing it's this Poyo guy. But yeah, this is what the interview clip looks like.
Our maps are a little bit more porous, and you know, we want those players to have a safe place to take their time, to learn how to turn and move and then shoot, put those pieces together, and then they see someone and be like, oh, okay, now I can do this.
What? But that approach that you're describing there isn't going to come at the expense of the hardcore players, right?
That's not the plan, right? But we want to make sure that we don't want someone who's, how to say this, lower skill to have a bad experience. We want someone who's higher skill to have a bad experience.
Now, if you ask me, that interview clip doesn't look very good. It's not a great look. I think it is really emblematic of the whole core problem of skill-based matchmaking in the first place, and just generally the approach that I think a lot of the devs have taken and the execs have taken as well over the last couple of years, which is to say that it is worth compromising the high-skill player's experience just for the sake of making maps and matchmaking where low-skill players can learn to turn and shoot and chain those things together in a safe space. It's not great. I'm sure he regrets this clip a lot. But yeah, it's sort of saying the quiet part out loud in a big way. Now, next, they made the Black Ops 6 campaign multiplayer and zombies playable for free during the Battlefield 6 launch week, which I think was Call of Duty trying to take shots at Battlefield and undermine their release, and it just didn't work. If we look at this post from Alinea Analytics, BF6 already sold more than 6.5 million copies in just 4 days, and that was confirmed, I think, actually with other reporting as being around 7 million in even 3 days, so a lot of sales. The game's generated over 350 mil in revenue at the 4-day mark, bearing in mind that the game's now been out for a few weeks. And some interesting stats here that you might want to take a quick look at is that Steam accounts for about 2/3 of the total sales, and PlayStation makes up about a quarter of the total sales. And regionally, the US is the top market, and then China comes in second with 15%, before Germany and the UK with 3 to 6% player share. This is so interesting to me. Like, I love seeing stats like this. I've also seen some great stuff by Matt Piscatella talking about the success of the game and the demographics of who's buying it. And you can see this story playing out in the numbers on Steam as well. So this is the Battlefield 6 beta, and it peaked at 500,000 players. So many players on Steam. And this already broke the Call of Duty peak record set 3 years ago for its most players on Steam at a given time. That was just here in November 2022. But that was just the beta, right? The launch, the peak that it got to in the launch was 750k on Steam. And if we expand this chart here and just take a little look at what happened there, it was basically extremely high day one, and it's now sort of found its feet and found a rhythm, and it sort of peaks at 500k each day. But then you see overnight it'll sort of drop to 150, and then it'll jump back up to 450 and stuff like that. Now there's a few ways to interpret this, right? On the one hand, you could say, well, that's crazy. They're hitting the Call of Duty lifetime peak every single day. They're just like casually hitting it every day. And that's unbelievable, right? Like, is Battlefield 6 winning this year? Could be your question. I think it's very important to remember the difference is that Call of Duty has a lot more console market share. So when we look back at these statistics and we see 24%-ish of the sales are on PlayStation and about 20% are on Xbox, on Call of Duty's side of things, the console numbers are vastly, vastly greater than their Steam numbers. So is Battlefield 6 going to outsell Call of Duty this year? No. Like, categorically, it's not happening. I'll not just go bald, I'll shave my eyebrows as well if Battlefield 6 outsells COD this year. It's just not going to happen. And I've said this several times as well. I think a lot of people sort of overblow the likelihood that will happen, and it's so unbelievably unlikely. But the important thing to recognize is that it doesn't need to. Like, it just doesn't need to hit the Call of Duty numbers in order for it to do a few things. Number one, for it to be a highly successful game. Number two, for it to pressure the Call of Duty devs into making better player-first decisions, which it's already done. And number three, to mean that we have broader competition in the FPS market just generally, and not just Call of Duty, but the whole industry is better off for the fact that there is more competition now. Like, it's one thing to say, oh, well, it's in second place, like it's not winning the race, but it doesn't matter, because if you just win the race over and over again with no one else in the race, there's no spectacle, right? Like, there's nothing to it. Whereas if there's an actual fight for first place, it means that everyone has to train harder. It means that everyone has to make sure that every single part of their game is on point, their diet, their sleep, like all of these other factors, right? And the exact same thing applies here. So I think that this is a massive, massive win. It's also going to put pressure on the Warzone side of things too once the Battlefield Battle Royale comes out. Like, there's a lot of benefits that are going to all come from just the viral success of this game, even though it isn't surpassing Call of Duty's numbers. It doesn't need to do that to still be a massive force for good in the industry. And it's fun, so that helps too. Now, I want to sort of change tack here for a second with some sort of wildcard stories. I saw this, and I don't know whether I believe this, but apparently references to Dr. Monty have been found in the Black Ops 7 Zombies files from the COD Warfare forum account. Are we really going to do this? Like, I do worry a bit. The way that the zombie story is going this year is that they're basically just going to throw everything together without really paying much heed to the origins of much of those characters and themes and items and objects and all sorts of whatever it might be. And it's gonna mean that we're gonna kind of get Jingling Keys Armageddon for 12 months. And I'm gonna sort of optimistically be like, oh my god, they've got like the House of Revelations in the exfil, and I'm gonna think of some really cool ways that could be implemented and cool things they could do with it. And then it's just gonna be like disappointment after disappointment. Like, I'm so worried. And stuff like this is like very much in that direction for me. Now, another sort of miscellaneous thing. In my last news video, I mentioned this edit, right? And oh god, I think my internet's dying, so I might not be able to play it for you. But if you want to see this generational Milo crash out that I mentioned before, and I can't play right now because my internet is down apparently, I'll link it in the comments down below. Now for our final story, I know I'm showing you OBS here, This laptop that you're seeing right now that I'm recording on, it's from Zydax. And basically I tweeted the other day saying, guys, I am going to be traveling and I need to be able to make content on the road. I was struggling to do that over the summer. Like, what do I do? And they came in incredibly clutch and they said, well, what we can do is we can sort you out with a system. And I tested it over the weekend. I was streaming the Ark Raiders server slam from the laptop. And I also streamed a bit of Call of Duty World at War and a little bit of Black Ops 3. I was playing some Shadows of Evil. And surprisingly, it actually ran really smoothly. Like, I can run multiple streams from this and play on the laptop at the same time. And I was still over 100 FPS. In all those games I tested. So I was very impressed, and I just wanted to say thank you to Zydax for that. I'm going to keep testing it, putting it through its paces, and if it continues to perform the way it has done, then I will emphatically recommend it to you guys. But I'm gonna make sure that I give it a good amount of testing first. So massive thank you to them for that. And yeah, expect some more zombie streams from me this week from the laptop to put it through its paces. So that's it from me for today. Hopefully you've enjoyed this quick news update, and I'll see you guys very soon in another video like this. Bye for now.